I had always believed that my marriage to Edward was built on an unshakable foundation, an intimate tapestry spun from years of shared dreams, quiet mornings, and whispered promises in the dead of night. We had built a life that seemed immune to the vagaries of fate, a sanctuary where secrets remained sacred and trust was our guiding star. Every shared smile, every gentle touch was a stitch in that tapestry, reinforcing the bond that I thought would endure forever. But, as with many things in life, the most unyielding structures sometimes hide the softest cores. It began with subtle changes. Edward's phone would light up in the darkest hours of the night, casting an eerie glow that danced across our bedroom walls. At first, I dismissed it as the inevitable demands of a busy professional. Yet, over time, I began to notice more. An unfamiliar cologne lingering on his suits, whispers of laughter in his tone when he answered those midnight calls, and a glimmer of something hidden behind his tired eyes. I remember one particularly. Chilly autumn evening when the air outside was as cold as the distance I felt creeping into our home. The dinner table, usually adorned with lively conversation and shared plans for the future, was instead set with a heavy silence. Each course came with a side of unspoken questions. Edward's eyes, once warm and open, seemed distant and shrouded by a secret I couldn't quite decipher. I sat there, my heart pounding with a disquieting mix of confusion and dread, wondering if my intuition was merely an overreaction or a silent herald of betrayal. Days turned into restless nights. I found myself constantly scanning his expression for hints of a hidden truth. My suspicions grew with each day, fueled by small inconsistencies, a missed call here, a hushed conversation there. I began to realize that the foundation of our love was slowly, imperceptibly, being chipped away by a force I had never imagined: betrayal. Then came the fateful night. The city was cloaked in the velvety darkness of a late autumn evening, and I sat in the driver's seat of my car, parked several blocks away from our modest suburban home. My heart was a wild symphony of emotions: anguish, anger, and a deep, aching sorrow that threatened to overwhelm me. I had decided, almost instinctively, to follow Edward. The decision wasn't made in a fit of passion. It was a carefully calculated step toward discovering the truth, however painful it might be. Edward drove in an uncharacteristic silence that night, his eyes fixed ahead, betraying nothing of the inner turmoil I suspected was raging within him. I trailed him through quiet streets until he finally pulled up to a grand hotel on the outskirts of town, a place that exuded opulence and mystery. The building's towering façade and glittering lights painted a picture of exclusivity, a stark contrast to the life we had built together. I parked a discreet distance away and watched as he stepped out of the car, his expensive suit and polished, shoes marking him as a man accustomed to a higher echelon of life. With measured steps, he entered the hotel lobby, and something in me told me that I had reached the moment of truth. I found a secluded vantage point in a nearby alley, where I could observe without being seen. And there, through a large window in the hotel corridor, I witnessed the unthinkable. Inside, in a warmly lit suite, Edward's arms encircled a woman whose very presence seemed to illuminate the room. She was Victoria, a confident, elegant colleague from his office whose laughter had once sounded like music in a distant hall. Now, it was the sound of treachery, a cruel note in a symphony of lies. Their embrace was intimate and charged, a betrayal that shattered my heart in that single devastating moment. The very air around me seemed to freeze as the weight of his infidelity crashed down upon my soul. For what felt like an eternity, I stood frozen in that darkened alley, every second echoing in the hollow chambers of my heart. The revelation was like a lightning bolt, striking with an intensity that left me numb. The life we had nurtured together, the dreams, the plans, the tender promises, suddenly seemed like illusions. Every memory was now tainted by the bitter taste of betrayal. Yet, even as tears threatened to spill, a new emotion began to take shape within me: resolve. In that moment of overwhelming pain, I made a decision that would alter the course of my life. I would not allow this betrayal to define me. I would reclaim my power, not through impulsive confrontation, but by transforming my pain into a force that would bring about a reckoning for the man who had shattered my trust. Over the ensuing weeks, I embarked on a journey that was as much about self-discovery as it was about retribution. Each day became a mission to gather irrefutable evidence of Edward's deception. I scoured his digital footprints, saving cryptic text messages, taking screenshots of illicit conversations, and even recording snippets of whispered conversations whenever I had the chance. Every morsel of evidence was a piece of the puzzle that painted a damning portrait of his double life. I began to compile this evidence into a dossier, a meticulously organized collection that documented every moment of betrayal. It was a testament to the life we once shared, and a mirror reflecting the myriad ways in which trust had been so callously betrayed. Late into the night, as I pored over my findings, a strange sense of clarity emerged. The pain was still there, but it was tempered by a growing determination, a determination that I would not be the victim in my own story. During these weeks of quiet, agonizing investigation, I also began to notice details that I had previously overlooked. There were extravagant dinners paid for with funds I believed were reserved for our family's future, secret bank transactions that whispered of indulgences and luxury, and subtle signs of a lifestyle that Edward had hidden behind a façade of normalcy. Each discovery added another layer to the web of deceit, confirming that the betrayal was not a mere lapse in judgment but a calculated, long-term deception. As I built my case, I also prepared myself for the ultimate act of reclamation. I knew that a direct confrontation in the heat of my emotions would only serve to further wound me. Instead, I envisioned a moment, a stage where I could present the full extent of his treachery not only to him, but to everyone who had once held him in high regard. That moment came in the form of our annual charity gala. For years, the gala had been a glittering event, a celebration of community and philanthropy where Edward's impeccable reputation shone brightly. I had attended with a mix of pride and resignation, never imagining that it would one day become the setting for his downfall. The irony was not lost on me. Here was a man celebrated for his integrity and commitment to community service, qualities that now rang hollow in the face of his secret life. In the weeks leading up to the event, I forged an unlikely alliance with a trusted friend, a confidant who understood technology as well as the intricacies of human nature. Together, we worked behind the scenes, ensuring that every piece of evidence was preserved and that the timing of the reveal would be nothing short of perfect. Late-night meetings were held in the quiet corners of our favorite cafes, our discussions hushed but laden with purpose. Every detail was scrutinized, every possibility considered. The day of the gala arrived, and the atmosphere was one of opulent celebration. The venue was adorned with crystal chandeliers that cast a soft golden light over elegantly dressed guests. The clink of fine china and the murmur of polite conversation created a backdrop of sophistication and class. Yet beneath the polished exterior, I carried a storm of emotions, a turbulent mix of sorrow, anger, and a resolute determination. Edward, in his usual suave manner, took to the stage with a confident smile that belied the chaos unfolding behind the scenes. He began his keynote address, his voice steady and commanding as he spoke of community, integrity, and progress. The audience, a mix of influential business associates, community leaders, and friends, hung on his every word. It was a moment of peak celebration for him, a moment he had crafted over years of careful self-presentation. Then, as if on cue, the atmosphere shifted. The large screen behind him, a screen that had been nothing more than a silent witness to his achievements, suddenly flickered to life. In an instant, the room was plunged into a collective, stunned silence. A montage began to play, one that was far removed from the carefully curated image he had always projected. On the screen unfolded a sequence of images and videos that chronicled the hidden life of a man I once loved. There were the steamy, forbidden glances exchanged in the quiet corners of luxurious hotel rooms, the recorded whispers that confirmed secrets shared in the dark, and the digital traces of extravagant dinners and covert meetings. Each frame was a damning revelation, meticulously chosen to expose the reality behind the façade. The audience, once entranced by Edward's words, now fell silent in shock and disbelief. Murmurs turned to gasps, and then to a suffocating hush as the evidence piled up, undeniable and irrefutable. Edward's face, once a mask of effortless charm, slowly drained of color. His eyes darted across the room, searching for an escape, but finding none. The man who had once commanded respect and admiration now stood exposed, his carefully constructed life crumbling in front of everyone he had deceived. For me, the moment was a profound catharsis, a reclaiming of dignity that had long been stripped away. I watched from the back of the room, my heart a tumultuous mix of sorrow and triumph. In that charged, heart-wrenching instant, I had transformed my pain into a weapon, a tool to unveil the truth not only to Edward, but to the world that had once placed him on a pedestal. The fallout from that night was as swift as it was brutal. In the immediate aftermath of the reveal, the atmosphere at the gala shifted dramatically. Conversations became hushed, glances were exchanged with a mix of sympathy and disbelief, and the air seemed heavy with the collective sense of betrayal, not only of the woman who had been wronged, but of the ideals of trust and integrity that the event had celebrated. Edward retreated from the stage, his once commanding presence now reduced to a shadow of shame and regret. The evidence had done more than just expose his infidelity. It had shattered the illusion of perfection that he had so carefully maintained. In the days that followed, whispers and debates rippled through our social circles and professional networks. His reputation, once untouchable, was now marred by scandal, and the fallout was both personal and public. For me, however, the true transformation was internal. The journey that had begun with heartbreak and suspicion had culminated in an awakening, a realization that I was more than the sum of my pain. Each day that followed was a step toward rebuilding my identity, independent of the man who had betrayed me. I immersed myself in new passions, rediscovered old friends, and sought solace in the quiet moments of self-reflection. The evidence of his treachery, once a source of torment, had become the catalyst for my liberation. In the quiet of the early mornings, as the first light crept over the horizon, I would often sit by the window and reflect on the lessons I had learned. I came to understand that true strength is not measured by the absence of pain, but by the ability to rise from it, to forge a new path even when the past seems irreparably shattered. The revelation of Edward's deception had been a moment of profound sorrow, yet it was also the beginning of a journey toward self-reclamation and empowerment. I began to engage with others who had experienced similar betrayals, finding solace and strength in shared stories and mutual understanding. In support groups and quiet gatherings, I learned that the wounds of infidelity, though deep, could eventually heal. I discovered that every scar was a testament to survival, a mark of resilience that told the story of battles fought and won as E. The seasons changed and time moved inexorably forward. The scandal that had once dominated every whispered conversation slowly receded into the background of our lives. Edward's public fall from grace served as a reminder that no secret, no matter how carefully concealed, could remain hidden forever. And though the memory of his betrayal would always linger, I no longer saw it as a chain that bound me to the past. Instead, it became a stepping stone toward a future defined by authenticity and strength. Years have passed since that fateful night at the charity gala. The scars of betrayal still remain, a permanent reminder of the delicate balance between love and deceit. But with each passing day, I have learned to embrace the complexities of my journey, the pain, the resilience, and the ultimate transformation that came from confronting a truth that had once threatened to break me. I now understand that every moment of heartbreak can give birth to a moment of rebirth. The memory of Edward's infidelity is etched into my past, a lesson in the importance of trust and the strength found in vulnerability. I have become a quiet advocate for honesty, speaking out in small circles about the importance of self-respect and the power of reclaiming one's own narrative. My experiences have taught me that while betrayal may shatter the facade of a perfect life, it also clears the path for a more authentic, empowered existence. On quiet evenings, I often reflect on the journey, from the devastating shock of discovering his deception to the meticulous gathering of evidence, and finally, to the unforgettable night when the truth was laid bare for all to see. I remember the adrenaline, the heartache, and ultimately, the calm determination that followed. In each of those moments, I found a piece of myself that had long been hidden beneath layers of hope and denial. Now, as I walk through a life defined by truth rather than illusions, I have learned that the perfect revenge is not a moment of vindictiveness, but rather the transformation of pain into purpose. The years of silence and suffering have given way to a life where every scar is a symbol of survival, and every day is a celebration of newfound strength. I have also come to appreciate that forgiveness is a subtle art, not necessarily for the sake of the one who hurt us, but for our own freedom. Forgiveness, in its most honest form, is not about forgetting. It's about releasing the heavy burdens that hold us back. In time, I have learned to forgive Edward, not for his sake, but for mine, so that I could move forward unburdened by the past. The narrative of our shared past now serves as both a cautionary tale and a beacon of hope. It reminds me that while betrayal can shatter even the strongest bonds, it can also ignite a fierce desire to rebuild, to transform, and to emerge, stronger than before. In my new chapter, I have embraced opportunities that once would have seemed impossible. I have ventured into creative pursuits, met inspiring people, and discovered a community of survivors whose stories echo my own. Every conversation I have, every moment of quiet reflection, is a reminder of that transformative night, the night when the truth was revealed in a blaze of light, forever changing the course of my life. It is a reminder that even in the darkest hours, there is a spark of hope waiting to be ignited, a spark that can set us free. Now, as I sit in the soft glow of a late afternoon sun, the pages of my diary open before me, I see not just the remnants of pain, but the rich tapestry of a life lived fully and authentically. The echoes of the past resonate in every chapter, each one a testament to resilience, courage, and the unyielding human spirit. I have come to understand that the perfect revenge is not a singular act of retribution. It is the ongoing journey of reclaiming one's life, piece by piece, with grace and unwavering determination. Edward's betrayal, as devastating as it was, ultimately led me to a path of self-discovery. I learned that while some wounds may never fully disappear, they can be transformed into symbols of strength. My life is now defined not by the betrayal itself, but by the myriad moments of rebirth that followed. The quiet victories, the small steps toward healing, and the enduring conviction that no one can ever take away my right to live with truth and integrity. I share my story not as a chronicle of revenge alone, but as an invitation to anyone who has ever felt betrayed or lost. It is a reminder that even in the face of overwhelming darkness, we have the power to rebuild our lives and create a future that is authentically our own. With every sunrise, I am reminded that I am stronger than my past, that my worth is not defined by another's deception, but by my own unwavering commitment to truth, self-respect, and love. In the end, my journey has taught me that life's Most painful chapters can lead to the most profound transformations. I have found solace in the knowledge that I am the author of my own story, one of redemption, empowerment, and the beauty of a life reclaimed. And so, as I close this chapter and look forward to the promise of tomorrow, I do so with the quiet certainty that every betrayal, every heartbreak, has paved the way for a life richer and more vibrant than I ever could have imagined. This is the story of how I discovered the hidden fractures in what I believed was an unbreakable bond, and how I transformed the bitter taste of betrayal into a catalyst for change. It is a story of heartbreak and healing, of the courage to confront painful truths, and of the determination to reclaim one's dignity even in the midst of overwhelming sorrow. It is, above all, a story of rebirth, a reminder that even the deepest wounds can give way to a future defined by strength, authenticity, and a life lived on one's own terms.